Hey, Gabriel Blake,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
We, per the orders from our governor or from our mayor, are sheltering in place.
Not yet. Not yet. We still have 10 more minutes. You could
We
just
do,
go
yes.
crazy. You're so crazy on those 10 minutes. Just go to the closest.
Run outside and
Exactly. Just go to the closest bar, like just sit on the terrace. You have 10 more minutes of enjoying outdoor.
yeah, we're in our own homes, together apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I did go to a restaurant this morning for brunch as a last hurrah.
Yeah.
Because they say this will last a month, but it's going to be a couple months, I think.
I think that this is like the last one, that is going to be like connecting with vaccination. So it's like there is not going to be like another valley. It's going to be like just going down probably in January, because people are still going to try to travel for Christmas.
Oh God.
I was seeing like some messages today in Facebook from some other people that they were saying like, I feel really bad, but I feel like I should cancel my trip plan for going to the East Coast in Christmas. There is why did you still have that plan?
It was always a bad plan, always, regardless of shelter in place.
Yeah. So that's the part. Like, at least maybe now people are going to be a bit more conservative. They're going to be like just calming down a bit, and maybe in January is that they can start like just reopening and just connecting with the vaccine. Let's see.
You and I were talking off camera about how this whole thing, and I'm sure all 5 of you listening had the same experience. It was like, oh, something weird is happening in China. Oh, it's like kind of famous people get it, and then all of a sudden famous people got it, and then our president got it, and now it's like a friend of a friend, and now it's my entire family.
Oh, is your entire family? Okay. Sorry to hear
Not
that.
everyone, grandma, aunt, uncle, cousin, so far.
Gotcha. So a lot. Still a lot of them. A good percentage of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, sorry to hear that. I mean, I guess that is like if you don't wear a mask, you have higher odds. So
And in Idaho, they don't wear masks because that's an affront on freedom.
Yep, I really do. So something that you told me before we actually get into the movie, is it true that you can go to church right now, that there are like just masses happening?
So I was looking at this new shelter-in-place orders.
Mm-hmm.
Religious gatherings are allowed, but outdoors only. And 2 weeks ago, our wonderful new Supreme Court justice helped secure a majority vote in saying the government cannot stop people from gathering for religious services, regardless of whether there's a pandemic. God bless America.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Is it good?
I was talking with someone the other day, and I was telling them that look, it's true that right now not wearing a mask is a bit of a disrespectful sign. It's like you don't care about other people. But once that we are vaccinated, it's like I'm absolutely fine. It's like you all, if you don't believe in vaccines and you don't believe in in masks, don't wear it. I don't care. From this point, I don't care anymore. I care from the perspective that it's going to be more like Darwinist in action. Is that you're going to die and you're going to be like just killing your mother too. So
I sent a fucking meme to my family today. It's a fake news tweet, and it says, in order to appeal to suburban Christian women, vaccine to be distributed through a pyramid scheme.
That's pretty good. How did they react?
I think there were just some laughing emojis. Nothing.
Oh, okay. All right, they didn't feel offended by it. They didn't feel identified.
Right.
All right. So what did we watch this week?
We watched the 2020 masterpiece, Mank.
One day
David Fincher.
One day you're going to forget about qualifying them as master.
No, we watched the newest David Fincher film that was released on Netflix 2 days ago, right? Friday, December 3rd-ish.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that this was my pick. I mean, the reason why I pick it up is because I like David Fincher. We're discussing about like his whole filmography. I still think that he's a talented director, regardless if he has some kind of mishaps during his career. But I think that he's talented. He has like a proper style, and I think that I know that I'm not going to be like fully disappointed with whatever he points out, or whatever he puts out. It's not like Woody Allen, for example. There is it's a gamble at this point. It's like it can be entertaining or it can be like a train wreck. In this case, I think that everything that he does is good. I mean, it's like at least baseline good. And I think that also, I was curious to see how this will work out. The screenplay, it was by his father, and it was a project that he had on the back burner for years. So it's like
and you have a hard-on for the golden age of Hollywood. So
I have a hard-on for the golden age of Hollywood. Citizen Kane is one of my favorite movies. So I was curious to see. I don't remember too much about RKO 281. That we will mention it a bit later, but it's another movie about the making of Citizen Kane. So I was curious about like how this one will play out, especially being about creating a script that is similar to adaptation in topic. So not in results.
Yeah. So David Fincher, if you're not familiar, has been the director of many of film's masterpieces in the last 20 years, such as Panic Room.
I went to the cinema to watch that.
The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Gone Girl. So he's a pretty important director.
Why are you doing this? Come on, he directed Fight Club, he directed Zodiac, he directed Seven.
I know, I'm joking. We love him, we really do love him.
And honestly, I think that it's like The Social Network is well directed.
Seven? Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying that it's like The Social Network, I think that is like really well directed. But Aaron Sorkin, you can just smell it from miles away. So, but I think...
And we'll dive into a little bit about how much David Fincher and his father think that they are Aaron Sorkin in the dialogue of this film.
Yeah, we will get to that. But yeah. So what is this movie about?
Okay, I hadn't planned on summarizing it, even though it's obviously my turn. So this film features Mankiewicz. I can't remember his first name. What is his first name?
From Gary Oldman, Herman Mankiewicz.
Herman Mankiewicz, yes. So he was a drama critic and a playwright in New York, and at some point he headed to LA to become a screenwriter. George Orwell had just been signed to, was it Warner Bros?
Orson Welles.
Sorry.
This is not the writer for 1948 and Animal Farm. Please just split them up.
Orson Welles has just been, he's entered into a contract with the studio. He's 24, clearly super talented. He's been told he can have complete creative autonomy and he can do whatever he wants, collaborate with whomever he wants. So Orwell hires Mankiewicz, who is in his 40s.
Orson Welles, not Orwell. You said
Orson Welles. Sorry. Okay. Orson Welles hired Mankiewicz to write the first screenplay of it's his first film, right? As I understand it.
He was working on something else in The Heart of Darkness at the same time, but The Heart of Darkness was released afterwards.
So Mankiewicz is also he's a drunk, he says whatever comes to his mind, and so he has kind of some big name friends, and he's actually one of the favorites of William Hearst, the newspaper magnate. So this is essentially the story of the Depression and Hollywood at that time, and this alcoholic coming up with the script and how he interacts with all of kind of the legends that came out of Hollywood and California at that time. He's friends with William Hearst's wife. What am I leaving out? And essentially he's just kind of drunk for 2 months in this desert getaway. And so it takes place a lot in the present time, but also there's a ton of flashbacks to see his interaction with all of these kind of larger than life characters. And it goes up until essentially he won an Oscar for it. And then the movie kind of ends, right?
And basically that, they end up with the acceptance speech from both of them.
And neither one attended the Oscars.
And they just receive it home. Yeah, so just to add to that, is that basically half of the movie is a flashback and the other half is present. So first, let's just get it out of the way. What do you think about like the production itself, like the directing of it?
So, to be honest, I had low expectations. You and I have spoken about how Netflix has more money than God, and so they're hiring talented filmmakers to come. But there's something about the Netflix creative process that makes it kind of subpar. Like the
don't you think that maybe they actually just give them like too much freedom? We were talking about Ryan Murphy before we started this podcast. I had the feeling that we talk about Ryan Murphy way too much.
That's
for
because
not liking him. I don't love him. Okay, doesn't matter. I don't love him. But what I was saying is like I had the feeling that it's a similar case to Orson Welles, but 30 years later. Because like he did like some shows on TV that they were like that they were successful. I was going to say good, but just successful. So Netflix told them is that look, we're going to be like hiring you for 3 shows, and maybe the only agreement that they had was like a budgetary agreement about like you can just spend up to $200 million per show. So I had the feeling that with this movie it's a bit more, if actually David Fincher always had this plan of doing this movie and he never found support for making it, I'm pretty sure that Netflix put like a lot of money on the table about like, you just come up with whatever you want.
And you can tell that this movie had a way bigger budget than Charlie Kaufman's film, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It was bigger than that awful movie that we watched, The Guest.
The Guest. God.
That being said, I did feel like I could see this like Netflix hallmark of mediocrity kind of creep in a little bit in terms of production. But it clearly had a way bigger budget. So I don't know why, because you know that I love David Fincher, but I went into this film and saw it was a black and white film about the golden age of Hollywood. I didn't have very high expectations for it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is that, can you see David Fincher's hand on the directing? Because David Fincher has like a pretty clear style, he's like pretty like, I don't know how to say, yeah, he has a clean style. Everything is just a bit more like just abstractive from what is happening. And even like the camera, I love like the camera work that he always does, his movies and shows, that he always just follows the character. There is a bit more of a, we are centering on them. It's not about like the rest of it.
So the answer is no. For me personally, I didn't see that that typical David Fincher style that we see in Seven or Funny Games or The Game.
Funny Games?
Sorry, not Funny Games, Fight Club or The Game.
Yeah.
I didn't see that here, but I also saw a director that is absolutely in love with the script.
Yep.
And he really let the dialogue do whatever it needed to do. And I think particularly of that first big dinner party at William Hearst's mansion. And if the style was so interesting because the people were sitting throughout this room and there were so many cameras and the dialogue was pretty witty, but it just sat with this scene for so long. And that's actually the scene that I fell in love with. Amanda Seyfried, her character.
Oh, like the girl, yeah.
Who plays William Hearst's long-term girlfriend. But no, I didn't see his very, I don't know, like clinical, like a sense of claustrophobia without getting too close to the characters.
Yeah.
I didn't see that in this. Did you?
No, and that's one of the interesting things that I was thinking about this movie is, okay, it's clear that Fincher really wanted to record, so they wanted to actually just shot this script, this idea, and this idea is just by definition a homage to a golden age of Hollywood. But when I think about Fincher as a director, I don't connect him to the studio age. I don't connect him. And it doesn't feel like that kind of director. It feels like a different. He feels like exactly what he is. It's like he actually has like a very visual language that it comes from, as Gondry or Spike Jonze. Like he comes from just directing video clips too.
Yes, I see what you say, but I think that you and I are in love with David Fincher 2007 and before. If you look at the major feature-length films he's directed since then, I feel like his personality and direction has gone away. So after Zodiac, which I think is firmly in his style, it was The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Social Network, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, and Mank.
I didn't watch The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I have to be honest, but I wasn't as pissed about The Curious Case of Benjamin Button as everyone else. I'm not going to say that it's good, but it's like, I think that it's one of those movies that if I have it in my hand, it's okay, I have to burn it or save it. I may still save it because I really like Brad Pitt and Cate Blanchett. I'm not saying that it's good, but if they're like the only two buckets, I would still save it. The Social Network, once again, is like Aaron Sorkin just infuriates me to no end. So there is no way of saving that movie. And Gone Girl, I like it significantly more than I expected. When I went to watch it, I said, holy shit, it's going to be Ben Affleck. Is this going to be a nightmare? But it was almost like him looking back into these thrillers with way too many, like twists and surprises. And I think that the end result, I won't say that it's not a stellar movie, but it's an enjoyable movie.
But regardless of whether or not you think any of those movies are good or bad, and I'm not saying either way, I feel like he lost the direction style that we fell in love with in like Fight Club or The Game or Seven or
everything feels smaller after Zodiac. Everything
like
feels
the scope of the filmmaking is smaller.
It's not only like the scope. I don't know if he's like just playing it safer, and Mank was going to be like the first like risky move. But in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, it almost feels like I won't say like a movie for kids, but it feels like a movie for the whole family. And certainly Seven was not a movie for the whole family. Fight Club was not a movie for the whole family. It almost feels like him falling into the studio system and just saying that I had to just play it safe for just attracting more people. The Social Network, let's just leave it on the side because it's Aaron Sorkin. Is that whatever is funny because I had a feeling that if you collaborate with Aaron Sorkin, is that whatever he has done, you may be amazing on everything else. That if you are like just like contagious, they're contagious by that content. It's like you cannot do anything with that. I haven't watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and then we actually get to the shows that he did. He did House of Cards. That I thought that the first season was okay. It was enjoyable.
It was.
And then it started.
Sorry to interrupt, but House of Cards felt like exactly the David Fincher that we love. It's exactly.
Yeah. Then it started just derailing a bit more, whatever. And I have to say that Mindhunter, I liked the first season. The second one, I was a bit more iffy about it, but I thought the first season was like a good thriller, like a good format of the thriller from David Fincher. So
and it's that like dark, gritty style that I love.
Exactly. Yeah. And you also like serial killers. So I think that is like at least David Fincher did a good job there. Is that this was like a bit more of the classic thriller that he excelled at the beginning of his career. So if we actually remove Alien 3, let's just pretend that never happened. So it's like I cannot agree 100% with you. I just feel like Gone Girl, it feels like almost, if it had gone like straight to TV, I wouldn't have complained. It's a bit more like the kind of movie that, well, what I mean is like it's the kind of movie that if you just, you're a Saturday afternoon, you don't know what to do, it's raining, and it's playing on TV, you watch it. And maybe you would tell someone about like, it was entertaining, but you're not going to remember all the twists like 6 months later.
It also felt like a straight to Netflix film to me. I mean, pretty good, a good cast, a decent script, but it's like when I go to the theater to watch the new David Fincher film, I expect a little bit more.
Yeah, no, honestly, I don't disagree. It's like I'm at a point that I still think that he's a good director. And it's like if you had asked me like after Seven, The Game, Fight Club, who was my favorite director, I would probably have said Fincher.
Wow.
Because I really like Seven and Fight Club. And I thought that The Game was a smart thriller somehow. I watched it like some years ago, like 7 years ago again, and I was like, no, this was not good.
The reason I saw the game is because it was on cable television when I was a teenager, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I was like, no, this is like really good. There's something here. It may be just pulpy, but the direction, it's like,
oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the direction is good. And I don't think that, for example, the direction in Gone Girl is bad. The problem there is, did you watch it?
Yeah.
So what I think is that the script is just like a by the manual thriller, you know, about like just add one more twist, you know, that is that's fine, but it gets to a point that is, do you have a point for doing this? Is there like some kind of overarching message? Because in the game it feels that there is some kind of overarching message.
I think he was just so entertained by the twists. The biggest one in Gone Girl being Neil Patrick Harris playing a straight man.
Oh yeah, that was, yeah. Well, no, I also think that is like Penny Hartz from Happy Endings. I don't know. The what?
She in that movie?
I think so, and she was a serious character. She was one neighbor, no?
I don't remember. I saw Gone Girl in theaters.
Casey Wilson. Yeah, no?
Wow.
Yeah, she's in there. Yeah, she's one of the neighbors, and I felt like she does like a very like dramatic role only a couple of her scenes, and I feel like she's Penny. She's Penny. Is that you cannot. I'm sorry. Is that they even like just cast her also in La La Land as a like a director of casting, and I felt it's like no. I'm sorry. She has been typecasted already. It's impossible to just look at her and not thinking about like I need to laugh about something that she's going to do. But in any case, I felt that Gone Girl, the problem is like the script, like the same thing with the Social Network. That is like, look, it's Aaron Sorkin. The directing can be great, but it's the script is Aaron Sorkin. There's no way of saving this. And with Mank, the problem that I had is like actually you cannot be yourself. Because by definition, this project is about being a homage to Hollywood, to Golden Age Hollywood. And David Fincher's style is not about classic Hollywood at all.
Yeah, I would agree. It felt a little out of place, much like the Ryan Murphy homage to Hollywood. Yes, I was like, this is a weird choice.
Well, Hollywood has all their set of problems, so let's just leave it on the side.
I'm just looking. Oh, it was actually the author of Gone Girl, of the book, that adapted the screenplay. Interesting.
Yeah. So, once again, is that this is a very weird product for me, because this is a product that I think that almost anyone else could have directed it. I feel it's like David Fincher. It's not that he was bad for directing. The directing is functional, but that's the problem. It's like it's functional. It doesn't feel like elevating the script anywhere. And we will go to the script in a second. But what I mean is like, as there is none of the traits of David Fincher, any of the strengths of David Fincher, because he plays a lot about like making it look like a Hollywood movie from back then. His style gets completely lost, and at that point you wonder, is like, what do we need David Fincher directing this?
So to understand why, I think we need to pay attention a little bit to the script, and you know a lot more about the backstory of the script. In fact, I didn't even know this film was getting released. You knew about it. You knew the script. Tell us, what is the story with the script?
So the story with the script, we were supposed to be created by David Fincher's father, and they were supposed to collaborate on just putting it on the big screen. I don't know if it was like after Alien 3 or after 7, and then he was like, I couldn't actually just get any studio for actually just supporting this, because it was to me like just a big investment, because we wanted to make it as an old-fashioned movie. I think that his father was like completely in love with Citizen Kane. It was his favorite movie, and they wanted to do a story about the creation of the script. So as we were saying, is the script of at least for me, is like Citizen Kane, that we should rewatch it one day. The script for me is mind-blowing. It's like when you actually think that movie was released in 1941, I think that there are like two things: the script and the direction of photography. They're incredible. They are like something that is like completely timeless. That is like, this was in 41. If you could actually color, like this movie, the photography would be amazing.
and this film mimics a ton of the
Oh
photography.
yeah.
Like, that was one of the most enjoyable things about it. It's like, oh, they did that shot. They did that shot.
But not only that, but they also like just mimic on the script, like the part of the dialogue and even the structure. Is that they talk for a moment when the Mankiewicz start like just writing it, and they read like the first 50 pages. He said, this is a nonsense. It's a non-linear story. It's that you start with the guy dying, and then you go back to when he was a child, then you go to this event, then you go to this event. It's like at the end, it's not a movie with the main character on the screen the whole time. It's a movie about building the character on the screen. And this movie also tries to do a bit of that. You know, say it starts with the accident when they actually go into the desert in the Mojave Desert recovery house. And it's like, and then they start like just going back to the beginning to 1930, like 10 years before, and they give you like a bit more of a reality of the country. And giving you the reality of the country is not for just giving you like more ambience to the story. It's about like just building the betrayal that Mank eventually does over Hearst. So everything is about him. Him is on the center of the whole story. So it's like when you look at the script, it tries to be another Citizen Kane. And that's my main problem with this movie. Let's just leave it there.
Which this plot device on paper sounds fucking obnoxious. And then to add to the fact that every scene opens with a screenplay. Oh, exterior on this date, flashback. It has to explain it to us, which for me, and I'll let you talk about it more, it worked sometimes, and other times I was like you're treating us like we're a little bit stupid.
I thought that the first time that they used it, I found it cute. And I thought that it's okay, this was a movie released in 1940. They would do it every single time, probably. Yeah. You know, they would be okay, more from perspective of consistency. And just saying, okay, we did it like once, we need to keep doing it the rest of the time. It's like this one resource that is like, oh, we do it every time or no. So I understood it, but the problem is that if you're going to be shooting a movie in 2020, that is going to be based on the creation of one of the most famous scripts ever. Albeit in adaptation, they say that it's Casablanca, they never mention Citizen Kane. But you're going to be adapting, you're going to be like just basing your story on that creation, and you want to homage it and at the same time mimic some of the elements of that movie. You know that you're playing with fire. You know that your work has to be like 100% top notch, because they're going to be like comparing you with that. Because that's what you're looking for at the end of the day.
I completely agree with you, and Netflix is not the right studio to create something that needs to be elevated and crisp. And
I don't think that there is any studio that will be like supporting this, to be completely fair, because this looks like a passion project. And the problem is that the people that they have this passion, I would have never guessed that David Fincher had a passion about Citizen Kane.
Do you think he had a passion about Citizen Kane, or did he love his dad and he was like, okay, I'm going to put my name on this so my dad can get his movie made?
I think that is the later, honestly. I think that is the later, a bit more of, okay, well, my father really loves this, I grew up with him, so it's one of those things that, I don't know about you, that during your childhood, is that your parents love something that when you analyze by today's standards, that you like it, but it's completely random compared with the rest of things that you like.
Yeah, James Taylor.
Okay. That's
I like him for some reason.
Okay.
Because my mom.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like I think that it's the same case on this. It's like if I look at David Fincher, I would have never thought about Golden Age of Hollywood. I love him, and I love also like Golden Age of Hollywood, but it's like it's a different style. I get it, for example, for noir cinema, because noir cinema is also like what inspired like modern age thrillers.
Yeah, and he definitely has like homages in The Game, in Seven. Like you can see where he came from, but there's nothing in the movies that at least we like that are like, oh yeah, this is a nod back to classic cinema. He really likes the classics.
Yeah, I think that is, probably he does, and probably he draws inspiration from it, but he's a bit more of, okay, I draw inspiration from this, but I'm going to be like doing my own thing. It's a bit more like informed instead of driving by. And the problem is that this is a movie that is driven by Golden Age. You know, I just feel this is not as good as it could have been with someone that had a bit more of a classic aesthetic, like, I don't know, Michael Bay. I mean, I cannot think about like any director that could have given like a classic. You know, but you know what I mean. You know, like some director that are a bit more about like just doing like big epics and just doing like a bit more like classical films.
Baz Luhrmann should have directed this.
Actually, that wouldn't have been bad. I was thinking about the director of Atonement, for example, that I don't remember who that is.
Ooh, love Atonement. So, we mentioned this a little bit earlier. I saw, at least in my opinion, that he sacrificed his own directorial style in order to spotlight the script. And it's my theory that he did that for his dad, because nothing about this says David Fincher to me. It sounds like it doesn't say that to you.
No.
And so, while I was disappointed, I also thought it was interesting watching him just let the words propel the story forward rather than action and twists and mystery. What do you think?
I fully agree. I think that is this one of those things that is okay. It almost makes me think when I was reading about like he wanted to do this project for so long, but he would never find support. That at this point when he found it, it was a bit more of okay, let's get it out of the way. I'm going to be like doing my best, but it's a bit more like because my name with the studios is not on the line. It's like we're still like just going after this movie, going back to Warner Bros. Or going to MGM, well, not MGM of course, but going to Sony or whatever, and it's like they're going to still like just giving me money for doing a movie. You know, it's a bit more like I can play it safe.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall ever having the extended dialogue scenes that we see in this movie, and they're quite long.
Oh yeah.
That's not a David Fincher thing. Ever.
No, it's not, but it's a Citizen Kane thing. It's a Golden Age thing. You know, it's like when you actually think about like those dialogues that they're like so fast paced, is that's like the script of Citizen Kane, and it's also like the script of many Billy Wilder movies, you know, from the Golden Age of Hollywood. So from that perspective, is that the movie could have released back then. It's not like, for example, RKO 281. It's like a movie made in 1999, I think, and it's about after the release of the movie. After the writing of the script, about like how it was shot and how all the studios, because the thing is like the rest of the studios tried to boycott the release of Citizen Kane. Once that the cat was out of the bag and everyone knew that it was about William Hearst, is that everyone said as cinemas were controlled back then by studios, they did a boycott for you cannot play Citizen Kane here.
A reference in this film.
Yeah, but it's like we actually stop at the point that is that there is a first version of the script, but we don't see everything that came afterwards, you know. So it's that other movie they actually talk a bit more about like the shooting and how it almost didn't get released because cinemas wouldn't be like playing it. And I read like a couple of articles about it, and it's like Citizen Kane didn't recoup the money. There was like a big failure for RKO. Because there was no streaming platforms, there was no Prime Video back then. It's like, or it was on the cinemas, or there was nothing. There was no way for us just making the money back. So what they used to do, like for example, with Gone on the Wing, they release it and they re-release it like multiple times afterwards, like every 2 or 3 years.
Like 2 years. Yeah.
Exactly, you know. So is that from that perspective, Citizen Kane became like way more popular in Europe compared to the United States.
Because the European cinemas didn't blacklist it like America.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it.
So in America there was like a very, very limited release, and it was, I don't know, I think that I was reading that actually the new wave movement, the French movement, like Truffaut and the likes, that they actually just saw it when they were like pretty young, and they draw like a lot of inspiration for it. They actually realized about like how forward-looking Citizen Kane was, but it was a bit more of it actually impacted the cinema first to Europe, and then that actually like just fed back into the States. That is, I find it like just fascinating. But now what this movie is doing, that is a bit more like just looking is like just trying to copy what made Citizen Kane, you know, like great, like kind of meta level that is applied here. We talk about like the meta level that adaptation uses. that I think that is genius. That is genius because it's self-referential. It's like in 2 hours, it just became meta to itself. But it's like in this one, it requires you to actually just know deeply Citizen Kane, and even knowing it deeply, you are comparing yourself with one of the best movies ever. And I feel...
I feel that as well. It's like you're taking on Citizen Kane. Like, how can you? That's very bold.
Yeah, I feel like just it falls flat, you know. And I wanted to love this movie, you know. I honestly wanted, because it's like it has like all the elements that I love, but the golden age of Hollywood is over. And imitating it is that you're just doing that, an imitation. An imitation is always going to be compared to what made it great back then. And David Fincher is amazing, you know, probably his father is an incredible, great guy, but you cannot compare with the talent that it was there.
So I will say that when the film started, I didn't like it so much. And then there's this scene where Mankiewicz is hired by MGM, I think. He's a staff writer, essentially. And he starts inviting all of the mildly talented writers that he knows. So this kid shows up to write for him. And there's this scene that's so fucking obnoxious, where it's just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. And I was like, God damn you for working with Aaron Sorkin, because you think you can do that. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm not going to like this movie. But ultimately, what Gary Oldman and the guy who plays William Hurst and Amanda Seyfried were able to do with the script brought me around, and I enjoyed it at the end. And I actually didn't mind that it was 2 hours and 20 minutes, somewhere around there.
No, because the script, I will give it that it's engaging. You know, as it actually just jump into the past and to the present. You know, they give you like more tidbits of information. And every single like scene, they have something. For example, I love like the election night. You know, Sinclair. I love
Bill
like
Nye plays Upton Sinclair, which is just a stroke of genius in my opinion.
Yeah. But I love that the scene is like, I think that is well directed. You know, but it's like it's well directed in a way that is not a Fincher well directed movie.
Yeah, I agree with you. Any like relatively talented television director could have made this film.
Yeah, but that's the reason why I was asking you also about like each part, about like the directing, about the script, and I was going to be asking you about the acting, because I think that the acting is what saves this movie. I love Gary Oldman. He's an amazing, you know, drunk person. I love the interactions with his wife, like poor Sarah.
Poor Sarah. That breaks my heart. I love that she's just fine with him, like being a drunk and sleeping with other people. She still loves him.
Oh, no. He never cheats on her. He never. They actually miss.
Scene at the end where she's like, I tolerate your drinking, I tolerate your affairs. Emotional affairs.
No. Your platonic affairs.
Platonic, okay. All right.
And that's the part, because I also thought it like the point when they go... when Marion, I think that is the name of the character, of the bimbo, the harsh bimbo, Amanda Seyfried character, Marion and Herman are walking on the garden, and she's actually just putting her head on his shoulder. It's like at that point, it's like, I thought that it's like, they're going to have an affair, and that's the reason why Harsh hates. It's like Harsh never hates Mank. It's a bit more like Mank gets to the point of just saying like, I need to do something about this character. If I want a change in this society, if I want something like Sinclair, like having some kind of traction, I need to change this reality. And my only way of changing realities is writing a script.
Yeah, so let's just explain a little bit. The major climax and the conflict of this film is that some of the filmmakers at MGM, even though they leaned left, they were forced to create these fake propaganda films that showed Upton Sinclair as a communist. Even when he was not a communist, he was a socialist. And then Upton Sinclair loses the election and they feel incredibly guilty. And the film posits that he wrote Citizen Kane to punish William Hurst for forcing MGM to create these reels that ultimately caused him to lose the election.
Yeah.
What do you think about that as the major motivating conflict in the film?
Look, I feel like it was a bit flat. The motivation, even after it, after it happened, you know, it's like when it was happening on the screen, I explained like a while. It's like, why is he freaking out now? Because he shows up to a costume party at Har's house, and he shows up late, and he shows up completely wasted, and he goes into a 10-minute dialogue about like the kind of movie that he would do for ridiculizing Hearst.
Which is essentially the plot of Citizen Kane when it hadn't come out at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But up to the point, he had never had like a direct conflict with Hearst, and Hearst was pretty clear that he liked him. And he also liked Marion, that he was his girlfriend. So at that point, I felt it's like, why is this happening? So after the movie ended, is when I started like just like connecting the dots, and it's like, oh, okay. I just felt like it was a bit weak. Not about like, oh, it was not heavy-handed, so I cannot understand it. It was a bit more, it's like, sure. I mean, even for me, that I was like part of I was part of a socialist party when I was back in Spain. For me, it felt like in any case, I like that there is a communist, we all share poverty. In socialist, we actually share the. He said, okay, that's a good one. That's a good line. Is Aaron Sorkin worthy?
What annoyed me about that scene is when he, in front of William Hurst and his wealthy friends, he's essentially giving the plot to Citizen Kane, and he says, now what makes this different or better than any standard movie? We give the main character ideals that he has to live by. And I thought, you're describing this movie because Mank has no ideals, and then we're somehow supposed to believe that he sacrificed his entire career to have this hit piece that was about William Hurst. I was like, I don't know that I buy this.
No, I think that is that the script actually falls short on that. I think that is that the character development that they could have done, and they needed to do, it just falls short. Because at that point is that we know that Mank, with the sentence that I was telling you earlier about like socialists like share the riches, is like they are pointing towards that direction, that they are pointing towards he is a quote-unquote socialist, or at least he's a bit more like left-leaning than Hearst. And when he was saying, when the Fraulein, the German helper that they have, that part I felt like, come on, you almost have to look at
saved a village of 100 people and got them to America.
It was a bit more like, just stare at the camera a bit more when you're saying this, so we understand exactly where it's coming from. So I felt like the movie the script does a pretty mediocre job about defining and outlining the characters. Something that I think that Citizen Kane actually excels at. Is that they actually just put them, like paint them like perfectly from the beginning, and they just put them in impossible situations, and they made them behave congruent. They actually behave in congruent ways.
So I agree with you that the script lacked a lot of things, as you just said, in character development. At first, I was annoyed by the very catchy dialogue, but ultimately, I enjoyed the dialogue, especially between Amanda Seyfried and Gary Oldman. Whenever they interacted, I found that I really enjoyed the film. So I do think that is a strength, but overall, as when the script tried to move the plot forward or tried to develop characters, it just felt clear this person has never written a movie before.
I agree. I fully agree. It's a bit more is that they're like some good ideas here, like some of the lines of dialogue. When you were talking about like Aaron Sorkin, Aaron Sorkin has also this style of everyone talks non-stop and everything is smart. Everything is smart and it's like quote unquote elevated. It's a bit more like they are like gods looking down at society and just judging the audience about like, we have thought about this for ages and you are basically a verb because you don't agree with us. But in this case, I felt like it's a bit more human. It has the melodrama, like for example, like the other girl that is helping about the husband that is a British pilot.
Are you talking about Emily in Paris? Is that
what?
You know the shitty Netflix show Emily in Paris?
No, I have not heard of it.
It's like the worst soap opera in the world about an American marketer that moves to Paris and takes over like a luxury brand.
That sounds terrible. No, I was
You need
talking
to watch
about.
one episode to see how bad it is, but that actress is the star in Emily in Paris.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so but you see that the kind of melodrama that they present there, that is like the classic, like golden age of Hollywood, But it
The
almost,
husband is missing in the war, but he's alive.
yeah, the kind of surprise and we're happy, but they never go like too far with it. They never embrace it as if it was like a Hollywood movie from back then. They only put the elements, and I think that's like the problem with this guy like being the first screenplay that he writes. I say a bit more is that okay, I have to put A, B, C, and D on this for actually just being like a full homage. Because
like what's the exact recipe? Oh, a half a cup of melodrama, a quarter of a cup of happy ending.
Yeah, I don't think that I like the portrayal of Orson Welles on this movie.
I don't think he had much to work with in terms of the script. I think that in a physical presence, he seemed to me to be Orson Welles.
Yeah, I mean the acting is good. Don't get me wrong. The acting of everyone in the movie, I think that is really solid, and I think that is what carries this movie and makes it enjoyable for the 2 hours and 20 minutes that it lasts. And
I will say that I did find it enjoyable. There are a lot of problems, but ultimately, I enjoyed the film.
Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong. It's like we will go to the questions in a second, but it's a movie that is like I was expecting to fall in love with this. This almost felt like a love letter to me. To me personally, because I like the golden age of Hollywood, I like David Fincher, I like Citizen Kane. It's like if all of this could have come together, this would have been like a perfect film for me. Not for you, I mean, for me.
No.
So, but where we got, it was a bit more of a, I don't know, like collection of things that some of them are good, some of them are terrible, and it's enjoyable. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that at some point, Mank's, I don't know what he is, manager, writing partner, he reads the script and he's like, this is a whole bunch of like pretty good ideas, but they don't work together. And I was like, wait, are you describing your own script? Are you aware that this is a bunch of good ideas, but it doesn't work together?
No, that's the reason why I was saying that there's a bit of a meta thing, because he wrote the script with the same kind of narrative timeline that Citizen Kane has. It's true that they don't start when he's a child. They don't jump to back to when he's a child, but they start close to the end. When he's in the Mojave Desert, like just writing. And they use that as a way of just connecting, and just progressing the story. But most of the story already happened at that point. So it's the same thing. It's like you could actually just look at every scene as interconnected sorts.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, you're right. They felt like vignettes, and some of the vignettes were great. It was like Je t'aime Paris. Like some of them are great, some of them aren't, and as a whole, it's like, eh.
Yeah. So I understand it. It's like I understand, as you were saying, it's like this is the first script that David Fincher's father writes, and probably it's going to be the last one because probably it's like 80 by now.
Did he pass away? Sorry.
Oh, I don't know. Let me just check. Oh yeah, in 2003. So probably this was a bit more of a homage to his father too.
Yeah.
So, and probably he didn't touch it too much.
Yeah, he's like, no, I can't change this.
Yeah.
Dad wrote this 20 years ago.
Yeah. So I just feel like if someone else would have had this idea, and they didn't have like the constrictions, the restrictions of I owe this to someone else, I think that's something better could have come out.
Like if Jack Fincher had a strong editor, like
For example.
Yes, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I just feel like, as I expected from a Netflix production, there was some mediocrity to it that could have been corrected by industry pros.
Yeah, but the thing with the mediocrity that I see in most of Netflix content is that we talk already about I'm thinking of ending things. That's a solid movie. there is no problem with it. I think that is the only limit of how I'm thinking of finding things is George Kaufman directorial skills today.
Experience.
He will keep like improving, but the script is good, the original material is good, the acting is good, the production value was good. I mean, they had Toni Collette there. Is that you cannot get better than that. So from that perspective, I feel like the problem is a bit more of the stubbornness of saying like, okay, this is my father's script, and I'm going to make it work. And it's not my movie; it's the movie based on his script.
Yeah,
I don't think, and I agree with you. That is that Netflix puts out a lot of garbage because for them it's more important to just put new content than putting less quality content.
Yeah.
And I think that is a bit more of probably what they said is okay, we're going to be probably if we want to just sign David Fincher again after House of Cards and Mindhunter, is that we need to just give him like a
the full artistic autonomy that Wells gets.
So well said.
Yeah.
Exactly that. It's like Netflix is RKO at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's anyone's fault. I think I agree with you. I think that the end result is enjoyable, but it's just by definition, by how it was constructed, it was never going to be a stellar. Never.
No, and it never felt like a Fincher film. It felt like a Ryan Murphy piece, to be honest. It was like a lot of kind of good ideas that didn't come together at the end.
Well, but as far as I know, he didn't try to rewrite history.
Well, he definitely did. There's nothing in this that's like history.
No, but at least it's closer to what history ended up doing. It's like actually Mankiewicz, he ended up writing a script that it was called American, and it was 300 pages, and Orson Welles went over it and edited out a lot of crap on it.
And American didn't star like a black cast and a homosexual cast, and they won all the Oscars.
Exactly. So that's my problem. We can go over Hollywood as long as you want, but that's my problem with Hollywood. Yeah. But it's like this didn't try to do that. This at least like tried to. The main points about it, there was a Mankiewicz wrote the script, and then Orson Welles took it. What we don't know is like if actually Orson Welles was a fucking asshole to Mankiewicz when he says like, no, I want to take credit for it.
Yeah, that was an interesting part of history that I wanted to research, because originally Mankiewicz, for a studio reason, agreed to have this film made without his name attached. And then ultimately he was like, no, I want my name on this, so William Hurst understands that I made this.
I think that at the beginning when he was starting to write it, he was not convinced about trying to make a statement with the film. And then half through it, now there's another part that I feel like a bit iffy, is like as we go through the flashbacks, it almost feels like Gary Oldman's character. It also goes through the flashbacks. It's like, no, I should actually put my name into it. So, could you watch this movie again?
I mean, I can't say never. Do I want to watch this film again? No, but in 5 years, if someone was like, let's watch this movie, I might sit through it again.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think there is a movie that I could not look for rewatching, like just making an effort for rewatching it, but I feel that it was enjoyable 2 hours. That is like, sure, if someone else is just playing it, I will sit down. Would you recommend it?
It was enjoyable. It's an enjoyable film with problems.
Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Yes, I've already recommended it to a couple people. So.
Oh, you did? Wow. Okay. I'm torn. As I watch RKO 281, I'm not sure if I remember that one, like just being mind blown. It has Liv Schreiber is Orson Welles, John Malkovich is Mank, Melanie Griffith is Marion, James Cromwell is William Hurst.
Oh my God, that's a perfect casting right there.
Yeah, it's just ridiculously good. And it's like the movie is actually, when they told me, because the production is a bit lower, like being 40p, but when I discovered it was 40p, it's like this is the best TV movie that I watched in my life. Because the thing is that it doesn't try to be Citizen Kane. This movie tries to be Citizen Kane. So it's like if someone asks me, "Oh, could you recommend me a movie?" Is that I would definitely recommend Archeo 281 before recommending this. About like the making of Citizen Kane.
I see what you say, and this film did awfully lofty ambitions that it didn't meet, but it was an interesting attempt, I guess.
No, it wasn't an attempt. It was a failed attempt. But failing at someone doesn't mean that it's terrible. But it actually just brings down like the final value of the show or the movie in this case.
Right.
Would you remember this movie a year from now?
To be honest, I don't think that I would. I would probably remember that I've seen it and that I really enjoyed Gary Oldman's and Amanda Seyfried's performances. But I don't think I would remember any of the specifics. Do you?
I'm not sure. You know, it's like I think that I would remember. No, I'm trying to think if I would remember any specific scene. I don't know. There were like some scenes, like for example, when Gary Oldman meets Amanda and Seyfried on the pyre. You know, when they are recording, they're like, "I'm going to get like just burned here." I found that hilarious. You know, the dialogue and how she goes up to the pyre, to the wooden structure. But I don't think that I will remember that. I think that is like one of those things that say, no, it was cool. It was like the classic, you know, like Hollywood studio kind of thing. But
no. It's not memorable. It's not. Yeah. There's nothing like excellent about it at any point.
You're absolutely right. It's like it's not memorable because it's not excellent.
Yep.
That's a good read. Do you think that there is anything artistic about it?
To be honest, no. I mean, I was disappointed that I didn't see David Fincher's style. Maybe that's not fair to think, oh, this is going to be, you know, like the game or whatever. But this, as you said in the very beginning, it's functional. It's fine. It moves the plot forward. Yeah. But there's nothing that I'm like, oh my God, did you see the shot? It was so incredible.
Yeah. For me, it's exactly the same. It's the thing is like it tries to copy the Golden Age Hollywood style. But you know who made a better Golden Age Hollywood style? The Golden Age Hollywood style. So from that perspective, that you're trying to imitating a style that is not yours, you're never going to be elevating that style because it's not your style. You're not familiar with it. You haven't been spending like your whole career trying to imitate it. So
I'll say that it was fun watching him recreate some of the more memorable like lighting and shots from Citizen Kane, but it never felt like more of a, oh, we're going to try and recreate the shot. It felt very gimmicky.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Archeo 281 is that they actually recreate the shots because they're showing how some of the stuff was shot. And that was pretty cool. You know, I thought that it's okay, that's amazing. But in this one, it felt like you're doing this meta level, but it's like if you're doing this meta level, you're going to be compared with Citizen Kane. So
because he wanted William Hurt to be his Citizen Kane.
Yep. Yeah. That is how it is, you know, and it's like, it's fine, but is it then the top line, you know, like the ceiling that you're setting to yourself is Citizen Kane. That, you know, it's true. You're never going to go through that. It's one of the best movies ever. But the bottom line is like just an imitation. And I think that it falls like closer to imitation than what is Citizen Kane.
Yeah, it's never elevated, like you said.
You see that timeless piece?
To be honest, I would say yes, because I don't think that if someone were to watch this movie in 30 years, they would get exactly as much out of it as we did today. So yes, because its meaning won't change over time. Is that the definition of time?
Yeah, I think so, because what they try to do is just imitating that style. And I think the imitation is good, but it's just that it's an imitation. It's a decent imitation, you know. So from that perspective, is Citizen Kane timeless? That's a different question.
But so I agree with you. What's that film with Julianne Moore? Something about heaven.
Boogie Nights.
No. The one where it imitates this guy from the 50s and 60s who made these very colorful and vibrant films.
I have no idea.
You do. She plays like a housewife who's married to
a single man?
No.
No?
No, it's not this, and I might have derailed the conversation.
No, now I want to know it.
Isn't this the movie where Nicole Kidman plays Virginia Woolf?
Oh, The Hours. The Hours is the one where Nicole Kidman plays Virginia Woolf, and she won an Oscar for that.
Yeah, I might not.
But on that movie...
Married to Dennis Quaid?
Dennis Quaid?
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay.
It very well could be The Hours. Anyway, the point is, this film
Far from Heaven.
Far from Heaven. That film was imitating in a beautiful, beautiful way the style of a guy that made films like 50 years ago. And that is a way that it did it well. This sort of imitation is somewhat lacking. Like, they wanted to imitate it, but lacked the skill to imitate the actual style of Citizen Kane of films at that time.
Yeah. So now that you see actually Far From Heaven, I feel like even more embarrassed. I never watched it. I never watched the movie, but it was a Broadway adaptation. And there is a song that I sing from that Broadway adaptation.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, from the husband, like basically like coming out to Julia Moore.
So I had a film critic friend who was like, oh, you know the films these are based on, right? And I was like, no. And he immediately took me to Amoeba Music. He bought me 3 original films from this guy and had me watch them. And I was like, oh, wow, I get it. Now, like, Far From Heaven makes so much more sense, and what they did was super beautiful. I don't think anybody would show somebody Citizen Kane and then show them this film. They're like, no, I'm saying you would never show Mank and then be like, you wouldn't believe he's copying Citizen Kane, and then you show them Citizen Kane, and you're like, wow, this movie makes so much more sense now. Yeah.
Now I'm actually pretty curious. I mean, the thing is, like, Far From Heaven is a full-fledged story on itself. You don't need to know about other stories for just understanding it. But Mank, for enjoying it, you need to know about Citizen Kane.
Yes, that's true. And then my metaphor or simile or whatever was just talking about imitating.
Yeah.
This is imitating in a not good way, Citizen Kane.
No, I mean, it's imitating, and if the script was better, if the directing was more keen, you know, more like the sensitivity that David Fincher had, was more aligned with what Golden Age Hollywood was, is that I think that they could have done better. I'm not saying that he did, but it's just a bit more, is that, look, you're doing this play because your father loved this. But it's not, I don't know. I mean, I just felt almost like fooled a bit about, like, I was so looking forward to this. But now when I look back, it's like, I shouldn't. Because there is no alignment between you, Golden Age Hollywood, and Citizen Kane. There is not.
I feel like David Fincher should have given the script to Ryan Murphy to direct, and then it was a David Fincher presents sort of film without him actually directing it, because it didn't require a director of his caliber. If you want to get your dad's movie made, let somebody make it, put your name on it, but ultimately this is an insignificant film.
That's true. Now I'm going to be asking you something. It's like, would you say that this is better than Hollywood by Ryan Murphy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. By a lot.
Yeah. I feel angry when I talk with people about Hollywood. I feel like just personally offended by Hollywood. But once again, a different topic. Should we score?
Let's do it.
Okay. What is your score?
6.5.
Okay. My score is a 6. I was debating between like 6.5 and 6. But certainly it's better than mediocre because of the acting. You know, it's
and some of the dialogue. Some of the dialogue was really incredible. That's what elevates it above mediocre for me. Yeah. Ultimately, it's not. I wouldn't say it's a good film. It's right in between a good and a mediocre film.
Yeah, and it's like we discussed this. Someday we should actually watch Pulp Fiction, but it's like, for me, a movie is enjoyable if I don't stare at my phone too much.
And I didn't that much with this film. I was super into it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the kind of, okay, what I'm seeing is not the best, but the dialogue is like just delivered in such a way that I want to see sadly. What else is going to be happening?
I have to say, I was blown away. I've said this like 9 times by Amanda Seyfried's performance. I thought, wow. Anytime she spoke, I was super into it.
Yeah, but I mean, you watch Mean Girls, you know that she's a top talent. She's an American.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as good as Mean Girls, but it was.
She tries. She tries. I mean, it's a bit more like, you know, she's like just how do you say, like dragged down by her performance. It's like everything's going to be like for her whole career comparing her with Mean Girls. No, but I agree with you. It's like it took me like a moment about like wow, those eyes, because it has like very specific eyes, you know, like the eyes are very unique, her eyes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, who is this? And I was like, oh yeah, it's the actress from Mamma Mia. And they said like, oh yeah, he's the girl from Mean Girls.
She was in a lot of good movies.
Like Les Miserables.
Oh my gosh, that was such an amazing movie. I didn't see it.
Oh god, yeah. Russell Crowe did an amazing performance, a breathtaking performance, literally. Okay, man. So, what are we watching this time?
We are watching the 2006 masterpiece, Notes on a Scandal.
You really like to just throw around masterpiece. Okay, no, that's great. Looking forward to discuss about it. I love Judi
Dench, Kate Blanchett,
yeah.
Bill Nye, I believe I would have to check, and it's directed by Richard Eyre, which, to be honest, I don't know what else he's directed, but I really liked this film when I saw it 15 years ago. So.
No, looking forward to discussing them. Okay, man. This was a pleasure. To those 4 or 5 people out there, you know, I would just say is that please just recommend us to your friends, because they're also like sheltering in place. So
if you all tell 3 people about this podcast, we could get up to 25 listeners.
Basically, we're making exactly like the pyramid scheme that we were talking earlier with our 5 listeners. But thank you so much for listening, and
wash your hands.
Bye.